Hi, I'm Steve Beers, and we're here today to chat a little bit about mediation, something you've probably heard about but aren't that familiar with. But for those of you who want to learn more and to take the high road in your life, I would strongly encourage you to find out and learn more about mediation. Simply put, mediation is a process where a third party helps two or more other parties achieve on their own a resolution to one or more issues. Mediators don't make decisions for parties like judges or arbiters do. Instead, they assist parties in structuring a process for communication and negotiation that allows them to analyze the problem, generate their own resolution to them, and agree together in a series of steps to resolve the problem. We deal with conflict every day. It's all around us, and it's a part of our lives, no matter how we try to avoid it. The problem is that we're just not very good at facing it and dealing with problems of this scope. We're what some people call reaction machines, and we usually react poorly by avoiding the problem, striking out, or litigating the problem. I just finished mediating a dispute between two parties in which one party had purchased a property and found out 6 months after purchasing it that they could no longer use it for their intended use. Obviously, they were a bit upset about this. The buyer contacted the seller but found him unresponsive and unsympathetic to his needs. The seller, on the other hand, felt the problem would just go away. Each hired attorneys. They started to litigate. It ended up in a lawsuit. Well, a year and a half into the process, with depositions, briefs, emotional stress, attorney's fees of over $40,000, and not even a court date, the parties finally decided to do a mediation. So why use mediation? Well, mediation is based on a win-win scenario versus a win-lose scenario in litigation. You also have to know that conflict has many causes that you need to look at when you're dealing with a dispute. There's denial, conflict of interest, poor communication, lack of information, selfishness, just to name a few. Mediation attempts to uncover all of these through working with people, getting together to listen, understand the issues, and reach a consensus together. They decide when and where to meet and when and how to implement a final agreement. They build trust, positive communication to reach a mutually satisfying outcome. It empowers people to step across boundaries and barriers that separate people, and because they've reached the conclusion together, it ends up being a stronger and more satisfying conclusion. In the mediation between the two parties I mentioned earlier, the mediation using some of the techniques that we have alluded to in our conversation took about 3 hours to reach a successful conclusion. And it cost each party about $200 apiece. It was done in private. The conversations and conclusions were confidential, and at the end there was a handshake, and the two families left the mediation feeling in many cases as they had 2 years ago at the end of their original closing on their property. So yes, mediation can work. Maybe not every time, but you owe it to yourself and the other parties you're dealing with in your situation to consider and evaluate mediation and its merits. As William Ury said, who's one of the founders of mediation, he said, it takes two to tangle, but it only takes one to begin to untangle a knotty situation. Your greatest power is the power to change the game from a face-to-face confrontation to a side-by-side joint problem-solving event. Thank you.